Hey there, welcome back to Podcast and Amplify. Today we're talking about a topic that I think everyone deals with at some point in their lives, some more than others. We're going to unpack self-doubt a little bit, and I'm really excited to have Yuritzy Gomez Serrano on today. She is a licensed marriage and family therapist and trauma-informed somatic coach. She supports entrepreneurs and change makers in transforming their self-doubt through nervous system regulation so that they can feel safe and worthy in living their most aligned life and business. She also incorporates intergenerational, collective, and systemic trauma analysis to give clients context to where their self-doubt and their blocks originated. She's a first-gen immigrant from Michoacan, Mexico. And after years of overworking and burnout in the nonprofit world, she decided to become a coach and do what she does today, helping people. Welcome, Yuritzy.
Thank you for having me.
So, can you tell us about a pivotal moment that led to where you're at today?
Sure. I feel like it was a culmination of different moments, but the first one was when I was working in the nonprofit world. So, I'm the eldest daughter of, I'm an immigrant myself, but that holds a lot of weight in families, being the eldest daughter, especially in Mexican families. And there was so much being asked of me. So when I was a teenager, there was a very interesting moment where I made an agreement with myself that I wasn't going to feel anything. So it was like, I'm going to try to shut off my feelings as much as possible because they just feel too much. And it felt like I didn't know how to handle, manage, or find relief. And so my sisters would laugh at me growing up, or especially like in my late teens, early 20s, like Yuri doesn't cry for anything, nothing phases her. She's always like very cool, calm, collected. And so I developed a passion for social justice going into college, and I wanted to be a lawyer and wanted to do some work around creating policy, laws, different things that could create change and create a more equitable world and equitable country. And so I ended up as a community organizer. And for those that know community organizing, it's a pretty intense job. You're working with community members to build the power, like local power. So that's through building community and education to go and advocate for different policies, laws at the local, state, and national level. And so I like hit the ground running. And after probably a year of working, maybe 9 months to a year, I started to develop these really intense chronic pain. So I had back pain all the time. I had really intense migraines. I couldn't sleep. Like I was jittery all the time. And I would do like the meditations, or I would do the things that I needed to do, or what people said that I should do, but it would only calm it down for a little bit. And then it would come back up again. And I actually scheduled a trip to Mexico for 3 weeks. I was like, I'm going to go visit my family. I'm going to take a break because I was working like 12-hour days, sometimes multiple, and even 7 times a week. It was really intense because I had so much passion around this work. And so I really wanted to do my best and help serve the community. And when I went to Mexico, like within a week, all my pain was gone. And it was like, wait, what? How is this possible? And so there already was this implicit, it wasn't something that I really spent time on, but there was this implicit like noticing of, oh, there was this pain, and it wasn't necessarily medical because I had gone to the doctor and everything, and they really couldn't, they said there wasn't anything wrong necessarily. And so that experience happened. And then fast forward maybe 7, 8 years later, I was pregnant with my first daughter. And again, that was like another pivotal moment where I literally, even though I wanted to work or I wanted to do these things, I couldn't because of the morning sickness, because of how tired I felt. And there were so many instances where my body was like, this is all we can do. And my mind was like, no, like we need to push through, or we need to do these things. And it just really solidified, or actually I had her. And fun fact, like I had to have an emergency C-section because I didn't progress. And I felt so much shame around that.
Mm.
And after talking to a person, she's like the equivalent not equivalent, but kind of like a physical training background. She's a body mechanic coach, is what she's called. And so she knows a lot about the body. And she told me, based on the symptoms that I was having, that it's likely that my psoas muscle was so tight. That's why I couldn't dilate. And that if I had pushed my body, that I would probably have had some really intense physical issues in my back and even felt worse than what I feel now. And so all of that to say, all of these stories, all of that to say is that there were so many instances where my body was talking to me around what it is that was wrong, and I would not listen. And self-doubt, and I'll connect to the body right now, but self-doubt and any kind of limiting belief that you have, or what people think are limiting beliefs, they are just indicators of what's really going on underneath. And some of it is also the internalized oppression and things that we have absorbed from the majority culture, because we haven't seen examples of people like us in leadership or doing things, or because we were explicitly told that we weren't smart enough or things like that. Being able to understand that there's these signals of thoughts or these signals of emotions that you have, and being able to not just work with that mentally and actually bring the body in, is so impactful and creates so much shifts, because your body's always going to tell you, like, we're going to be activated because we want to tell you something. We want to let you know something's wrong. We want to let you know to stop. We want to let you know. And so pairing that together creates such an opportunity for deep transformational change. And that's exactly what I do in my coaching.
Yeah, I can see the connection between your experiences of pushing through,
Yeah.
denying emotions, having that pressure of being the oldest daughter in a Mexican family, which is no joke.
Mhm.
I'm the youngest of three girls, and I look at my oldest sister and I'm just like, wow, because it was there was a lot of asks for the person in that role in the family. And then combined with, like you said, the external world of expectations or lack thereof, lack of representation, and it all coming in, playing its part in your emotional well-being, in playing out in your body in different ways. And that's why I really wanted to talk to you about self-doubt, because you approach it in this way. And I think it's so powerful to get to the root of these things and create that transformation when you're going deep into the nervous system, talking about self-doubt somatically. So I want to start with, what are the two different types of self-doubt?
Yes. So there's the self-doubt that I think all of us have experienced. I think probably both types we've experienced, but the one that's very normal is when you are going into a new role, going into a new position, anything new. And there's a questioning of like, oh, this might feel this, I don't know if I'm cut out for this, or I don't know. And a lot of people call it imposter syndrome, but it's relatively quick. So it's like you go in, you get a feel, and you're like, oh no, I can do this. And then it passes. It eventually passes. There's another self-doubt where there's an innate feeling that there's something wrong with me. So there's something wrong with me that somehow I can't change. Therefore, I can't do this thing, or I can't be successful in this thing.
It's like a more like deep-seated thought
Yeah,
about who you are, not something that you can figure out or overcome.
exactly.
Got it. Okay. And then, so what are some of the reasons that we have self-doubt? I think you touched on them a little bit, but I know there's more to it.
Yes. So I think depending on your identities, you're going to have different levels of self-doubt, and depending also on the thing that you're doing. And if you're a cis, white, hetero man in this country, it's very easy for you to overcome self-doubt for the most part, if we're not factoring in trauma and all these things. But when you are someone that's even more marginalized and have not seen, again, like examples of people like you in these roles or doing these things, there's more of a, can I even do this? And also being explicitly told, whether that's by counselors, by parents, by elders in your community, by peers, like you can't do that. It develops that self-doubt. I think there's also when you factor in trauma, there's like an experience that you have at a very young age, or like or any kind of very intense experience. Usually what happens, it gets registered in your body. So it's, whoa, this was really intense. We don't want to do this again. We don't want to go through this again. And this is all happening subconscious, like you're not actively thinking this way, but this is how your nervous system reacts to it. I don't want this to happen again. So we're going to create a belief so that way we like encounter this belief, and that's going to almost serve as a protector for us. And if you were someone, and I see this so often in first gen kids, there's trauma in around schooling where they had to go, maybe they were the first in their family to speak English, all these things. And they go and they present, or they go answer a question and they're wrong. And they have people laughing at them or being looked at a certain way. And so then it registers, oh, this was really hard. Let's just develop this belief that we're not smart. So that way we don't try and we don't keep going around this. We don't expose ourselves to experiences where we can get hurt. And so then we carry on that belief like, okay, I'm not smart, I'm not smart. But it's not that you aren't smart. It's just that was the belief that was developed to protect you. And that's my specialty. I love working in that space, because once we dismantle that, then it no longer is carrying the weight, and you can work through whether it's mindset blocks or just shift things that are a little bit easier versus that really deep internal belief